The spit hit her tactical tablet at exactly 0603 hours. Not by accident, not in anger. Deliberately. Chief Warrant Officer Blake Mercer stood over Lieutenant Junior Grade Maya Chen's classified device, the one containing Naval Special Warfare mission protocols, looked her straight in the eye and let it fall. 40 SWCC operators watched it happen on the Coronado boat dock, watched him smile, watched him say, "SEALs don't belong on my boats." They waited for her to cry, to rage, to break. She did none of those things. Just activated her watch recorder, logged the timestamp, and said 5 words that would destroy his career. "That's a federal crime, Chief." What he didn't know, she'd been recording everything since the moment she arrived, and she never stopped fighting. Before we show you what happens when you disrespect the wrong Navy SEAL, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Drop a comment telling us what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. And trust me, you'll want to stay until the end, because what Maya Chen did next didn't just change one man's career, it changed an entire institution. The smell hit Maya before she even stepped off the transport van. Salt water mixed with diesel fuel and something else. Ego, maybe. The kind that built up in places where men had operated the same way for 30 years without anyone telling them different. She'd smelled it before, in Fallujah, in training compounds from Virginia to California. It always smelled the same. She grabbed her 2 duffel bags and stepped onto the asphalt. "You lost, ma'am?" The voice came from a cluster of men near the boat maintenance shed. Petty Officer First Class Travis Holt. She'd memorized the roster on the flight over. 6'2", former college linebacker, 12 years in SWCC, 3 combat deployments. He wasn't asking because he thought she was lost. He was asking because he wanted everyone to hear the question. "Reporting for integration assignment," Maya said. "Lieutenant Junior Grade Chen." Integration. Holt drew the word out like it tasted bad. "That what they're calling it now?" A shorter man next to him laughed. Petty Officer Second Class Danny Cross, fast boat operator, specialized in riverine insertions, known for being Holt's echo chamber. "We got a SEAL," Cross said, loud enough to carry. "A real one. Wonder if she knows which end of the boat goes in the water first." Maya set her bags down carefully. "The pointy end, Petty Officer. Same end that's been forward since humans started building boats 4,000 years ago." The laughter stopped. "She's got jokes," Holt said. "I've got orders," Maya said. "And unless yours say stand around the parking lot making observations about arrivals, I suggest you get back to work." Holt's smile went flat. He looked past her shoulder toward the command building, then back at her. "You're going to be real popular here, ma'am." "I'm not here to be popular." She picked up her bags and walked toward the barracks. Behind her, someone muttered something she couldn't quite hear, but she heard the laughter that followed it. That part was always clear. The female barracks were empty. Not because there weren't other women on base. There were admin staff, medical personnel, civilian contractors. But Maya was the only one assigned to tactical operations, the only one who'd be living in this building, training with the boat crews, running live fire drills with men who didn't think she belonged there. She unpacked in silence, uniforms pressed and hung, tactical gear arranged by function, her trident insignia placed carefully on the shelf above her bunk, the gold eagle clutching an anchor, a flintlock pistol, and a trident. She'd earned it in water so cold her hands went numb before she could finish tying knots. Earned it while instructors screamed that women didn't have the upper body strength for this. Earned it by outperforming 80% of the men in her class. A knock on the doorframe interrupted her thoughts. "Lieutenant Chen?" She turned. A woman in working khakis stood in the doorway. Older, maybe 45, with a weathered face that said she'd been Navy longer than Maya had been alive. "Master Chief Rodriguez," the woman said. "I run the logistics shop. Thought I'd stop by." "Appreciate it, Master Chief." Rodriguez stepped inside, glanced at the trident on the shelf. "Bud/S-Class 347? "Yes, Master Chief." "Heard about that class. Hell Week in January. Water temperature in the 50s. 52 degrees, Maya said. Felt colder. Rodriguez smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "You know what you walked into here?" "SWCC Integration Pilot Program. Joint Operations Training." "That's the official answer. Want the real one?" Maya waited. "You walked into 30 years of tradition that says women drive desks, not combat craft. You walked into a community that thinks the only reason you're here is because some admiral in Washington needed a diversity photo for a press release. And you walked into Chief Blake Mercer's kingdom." "The senior instructor." "More than that. He's been running SWCC training for 8 years. Before that, he was doing gunboat diplomacy in the Persian Gulf when you were in middle school. He's got friends at every level of this command, and he's made it very clear he thinks this integration program is, quote, political correctness undermining operational readiness." Maya folded the last of her uniforms. "Noted." Rodriguez shook her head. "You're not hearing me, Lieutenant. Blake doesn't just disagree with this program. He's going to try to break you. Publicly. Because if you fail, he gets to say he was right all along." "Then I won't fail." "It's not that simple. Master Chief, with respect, it is exactly that simple. I didn't survive 3 years of special operations training to get run off by someone's hurt feelings about change. If Chief Mercer wants to test me, he can test me. I'll pass. Same way I've passed every test the Navy's put in front of me since I enlisted." Rodriguez studied her for a long moment. Then she nodded once, sharp and final. "All right, Lieutenant. Your fight. Just remember, there's passing and there's surviving. Sometimes those aren't the same thing." She left without another word. Number 1. The first equipment inspection happened at 05:45 the next morning. Maya arrived 10 minutes early. Blake Mercer was already there, clipboard in hand, standing in front of 40 SWCC operators arranged in neat rows on the boat dock. He didn't acknowledge her arrival, just kept talking. "And I don't care if you've been doing this for 2 weeks or 2 decades. Everyone runs the same drills, meets the same standards, carries the same load. No exceptions, no special accommodations. This isn't daycare." A few men glanced in Maya's direction. Blake noticed but didn't follow their eyes. "Lieutenant Chen," he said without looking at her. "You'll fall in at the end of 3rd row." She moved into position. The man next to her, young, maybe 22, shifted slightly away, creating distance, making a point. Blake walked down the 1st row, checking gear with mechanical precision. Rifle magazines seated correctly, radio frequencies programmed, flotation devices inflated to proper PSI. He moved like a man who'd done this inspection 10,000 times and expected to do it 10,000 more. When he reached Maya, he stopped. "Open your bag, Lieutenant." She unzipped her tactical duffel. Blake leaned over, examining contents with exaggerated care. "This your tactical tablet?" "Yes, Chief." He lifted it out. The screen showed the lock screen. Naval Special Warfare Command insignia, classified network indicator in the corner. "This device authorized for field operations?" "Fully authorized, Chief. Logged into the secure network under my credentials." Blake turned the tablet over in his hands. "Expensive equipment. Lot of sensitive information." "Standard seal issue for officers, Chief." He nodded slowly. Then he held it out over her open bag. And he spit. Not on the ground, not to the side, directly onto the tablet screen. A deliberate, wet sound that carried in the morning silence. The dock went absolutely still. Maya watched the saliva slide down the screen, catching light from the overhead floods. Watched it drip onto her carefully packed gear. Watched 40 men hold their breath, waiting for her reaction. Blake handed the tablet back to her. "Equipment's contaminated, Lieutenant. Going to need to file a maintenance report on that." Her hand didn't shake when she took it. Her voice didn't rise. "Thank you for identifying the contamination, Chief." She pulled a small cleaning cloth from her pocket, wiped the screen with slow, deliberate strokes. "I'll document the source in my report. Do you spell Mercer with a C or an S?" Someone in the back row coughed. It might have been covering a laugh. Blake's smile tightened. "You think this is funny, Lieutenant?" "No, Chief. I think it's documented." She tapped her watch face, bringing up the recording app she'd activated the moment she stepped onto the dock. "Audio and biometric data, time-stamped, already synced to the cloud." The smile disappeared completely. "You recording this inspection?" "I'm recording all my training activities, Chief. Standard practice for integration pilots. Make sure everyone's held to the same standards. No exceptions. No special accommodations." She tucked the tablet back into her bag, zipped it carefully. "Isn't that what you said? Same standards for everyone?" Blake took one step closer. Close enough that protocol said she should step back. She didn't. "Let me explain something to you, Lieutenant. I've been running boats in combat zones since before you knew what the Navy was. I've pulled wounded men out of rivers under fire. I've made decisions in 30 seconds that saved lives and ended others. You know what I haven't done? I haven't walked onto someone else's base and started recording them like they're suspects." "I'm not treating you like a suspect, Chief. I'm treating you like someone who just committed assault on a superior officer and destruction of government property containing classified information, both of which are UCMJ violations. The recording's just evidence." The men in the formation had stopped pretending not to listen, every eye locked on the two of them, waiting, calculating. Holt spoke up from the second row. "Chief, she's bluffing. That spit didn't destroy anything." "Actually," Maya said, still looking at Blake, "contaminating classified devices requires a security review. Network access has to be suspended pending clearance. That tablet contains mission protocols for this entire training rotation. So unless Chief Mercer wants to explain to the base commander why we can't access operational plans for the next 72 hours while IT security processes the incident." She let the sentence hang. Blake's jaw worked. Once. Twice. The muscles in his neck stood out like steel cables. "You'd really do that? Tank the training schedule over spit?" "I'd really document a security violation over spit, Chief. What happens after that isn't my decision. It's the base commander's." "This is insane." "This is protocol. Same standards. Remember?" For 5 seconds, nobody moved. The water lapped against the dock pilings. Somewhere across the base, a whistle blew for morning PT. A seagull cried overhead. Then Blake stepped back. "Fallout for equipment check. We'll resume at 0630. The formation broke immediately. Men grabbed their gear and scattered like they'd been released from a trap. Maya shouldered her duffel and started toward the barracks. "Lieutenant?" She stopped, turned. Blake stood alone on the dock now, just the two of them and 50 yards of concrete. "You just made an enemy you didn't need to make," he said quietly. "No, Chief. You made an enemy when you spit on federal property. I just decided not to ignore it." She adjusted her bag. "See you at 6:30. I'll bring my clean tablet and my recording device. You bring whatever version of professionalism you can manage." She walked away before he could respond. Behind her, she heard him kick something metal. The clang echoed across the water. Number 3. The female head, Navy term for bathroom, was empty when Maya entered. She locked the door, set her bag down, and finally let herself breathe. Her hands shook now, just slightly, the adrenaline catching up. She'd just challenged a senior enlisted man in front of his entire crew, recorded him, threatened him with formal charges, and she'd done it on her second day on base. This wasn't strategy. This wasn't smart. But it was necessary. Because if she'd stayed silent, if she'd wiped off that tablet and said nothing, every man on that dock would have learned the same lesson. You can disrespect her, and she won't fight back. And Maya Chen hadn't survived Hell Week, hadn't earned her trident, hadn't clawed her way into the most elite military unit on Earth, just to spend her career proving she could take abuse. She pulled out her phone, opened the secure messaging app, typed to Commander Willis, Facility Company, from Lieutenant Junior Grade Chen, replayed, Security Incident, Classified Device. Sir, requesting meeting at your earliest convenience. Documented OPSEC violation requires immediate review. She hit send before she could second-guess it. Then she cleaned her tablet with proper electronics solution, logged the cleaning in her maintenance file, and started documenting everything that had happened in the past 12 hours. If Blake wanted a war, she'd give him one. But it would be fought with paperwork, regulations, and evidence. The same tools the military gave everyone. The same ones most people never bothered to use. By 0800, the entire base knew. Maya could tell by the way conversations stopped when she walked past, by the way Junior Enlisted suddenly found reasons to be very busy when she approached, by the silence in the chow hall that felt less like respect and more like people waiting for an explosion. She took her tray to an empty table, ate alone. Halfway through breakfast, Master Chief Rodriguez sat down across from her without asking. You've got balls, Lieutenant. Stupid balls, but balls. Maya swallowed her eggs. He committed a crime, Master Chief. He spit on a tablet. Judges don't convene for spit. He spit on a classified device while it was logged into a secure network. That's tampering with government information systems. 5 years federal prison if they want to prosecute hard. Rodriguez whistled softly. You actually looked up the statute. I looked up 6 statutes. That's just the easiest one to prove. Blake's got friends. Blake's got ego, Maya interrupted. And ego makes people stupid. He thought I'd cry or file a hurt feelings report. Instead, I documented a crime. Those are different things. Rodriguez pushed food around her plate. You know what happens now, right? He can't back down, not in front of his guys. So he escalates. Let him. You say that now. Master Chief, I spent 72 hours in 50-degree water with instructors screaming that I didn't belong there. I spent 6 months getting accidentally hit in close-quarters combat drills by teammates who wanted me to quit. I know what escalation looks like. And I know that bullies stop when someone finally makes it cost something. Rodriguez stared at her. Then she stood, picked up her tray. Commander Willis will see you at 1100. He's already reviewed your incident report. How do you know that? Because I'm the one who delivered it to him. Along with a copy of the dock security footage that shows everything Blake did. Maya blinked. I didn't know there were cameras. There are always cameras, Lieutenant, especially in places where expensive equipment gets handled. Rodriguez's smile was sharp. Welcome to institutional warfare. Blake knows tactics. You're about to teach him strategy. She left Maya sitting alone with that thought. Number 5. Commander Willis's office smelled like coffee and old paper. He was 50-ish, lean, with the kind of weathered calm that came from making hard decisions for 3 decades. When Maya entered, he didn't stand, just gestured to the chair across from his desk. "Sit." She sat. He studied her for a long moment. Then he turned his computer monitor so she could see it. Security footage. The dock. Blake leaning over her bag. The moment of the spit, crystal clear in high definition. "Petty Officer Holt filed a counter-complaint this morning," Willis said. "Claims you were insubordinate during the inspection. Claims you threatened Chief Mercer with false charges to avoid legitimate criticism of your performance." Maya's stomach tightened, but her voice stayed level. "And what does the footage show, sir?" "The footage shows exactly what you documented. A senior enlisted man spitting on a classified device. But here's what you need to understand, Lieutenant. This base operates on relationships I've spent 5 years building. Blake Mercer has trained 70% of the SWCC operators currently in combat zones. His methods work. His results are undeniable." "His methods include assault, sir?" "His methods include being hard on people he doesn't think are ready. Sometimes he crosses lines. Usually, people adapt." Maya felt something cold settle in her chest. "Are you asking me to adapt to being spit on, sir?" Willis leaned back in his chair. The leather creaked. "I'm asking you what you want out of this, Lieutenant. Because I can investigate. I can convene a formal review. I can probably even get Blake reduced in rank if we push hard enough. But the cost is that every SWCC operator on this base will see you as the woman who ended their best instructor's career over spit. And you'll spend the next 2 years training people who hate you. Or I can handle this quietly. Verbal counseling for Blake. He keeps his rank, his position. You get an apology. Everyone moves forward." Maya looked at the frozen image on the screen. Blake's face caught mid-sneer, the spit captured as a bright streak in the floodlights. "No, sir." Willis's eyes sharpened. "No?" "If I accept a quiet apology, everyone learns that you can violate regulations as long as you're valuable enough. They learn that women will accept less than full accountability to keep the peace. And sir, with respect, I didn't become a Navy SEAL to teach people that lesson." "What lesson do you want to teach?" She stood. "That same standards means same consequences. Chief Mercer told everyone this morning that there are no exceptions, no special accommodations. I agree completely. So let's hold him to that." Willis didn't respond immediately. He just turned the monitor back, closed the video file, and opened another document. "All right, Lieutenant. You want equal standards? Here's what equal looks like." Blake gets a formal reprimand for the security violation. Letter in his file. Mandatory retraining on classified device handling. He looked up at her. "And you get assigned as his direct partner for next week's hostile environment drill. 2-person team, you and him. 7 days in restricted conditions, close quarters, high stress, no backup." Maya's breath caught. "Sir." "Equal standards, Lieutenant. You don't get to demand accountability and then hide from the consequences. Blake needs correction, but you need to prove you can operate in hostile conditions without institutional protection. This is that test." He stood, extended his hand. 7 days, starting Monday. If you both come back professional, this incident stays a letter in a file. If either of you escalates, I convene a full board and let the cards fall. Deal? Maya looked at his hand, thought about everything that could go wrong in 7 days alone with a man who'd just proven he had no respect for her. Thought about backing down now, taking the quiet route, surviving instead of fighting. Then she thought about every woman who'd come before her and been told to just adapt. She shook his hand. Deal, sir. Good. Dismissed. She walked out of his office with her heart hammering and her mind already calculating how to survive a week with someone who wanted her to fail. Behind her, through the closed door, she heard Willis pick up his phone. Master Chief Rodriguez, it's Willis. Chen took the deal. Start prepping the isolation training scenario. And Rodriguez, make sure medical's on standby. I think we're going to need them. The line went dead, and Maya kept walking, straight-backed and steady, toward whatever 7 days in hell with Blake Mercer would bring. The weekend before the drill felt like waiting for surgery. Maya spent Saturday running equipment checks 3 times because sitting still made her think too much. Sunday, she avoided the chow hall entirely and ate protein bars in her barracks while reviewing tactical manuals she'd already memorized. Monday morning arrived cold and gray. She reported to the equipment bay at 0500. Blake was already there, loading gear into a rigid hull inflatable boat with movements that looked angry, sharp, controlled violence directed at inanimate objects. You're late, he said, without looking up. I'm 15 minutes early, Chief. I've been here an hour. That makes you late. He threw a dry bag into the boat, hard enough to make it bounce. You got your personal gear? Yes, Chief. Medical clearance? Signed and filed. Emergency contact information updated? She paused. Chief, is there something specific you're concerned about? He finally looked at her. Yeah, Lieutenant. I'm concerned that in 7 days of close quarters training, you're going to realize you don't actually belong here. And I'm going to have to extract your ass when you quit. I won't quit. Everyone says that. He went back to loading. Then they spend 3 days seasick, 2 days hypothermic, and 1 day crying into their radio begging for pickup. I spent 72 hours in Surf Zone Evolutions during Hell Week, Chief. I know what cold water feels like. Hell Week had safety boats. This doesn't. He secured the last bag with a carabiner that clicked too loud in the morning silence. This is you, me, and whatever the ocean decides to do to us. No referees, no timeouts, no filing incident reports when your feelings get hurt. Maya set her gear down carefully. Chief Mercer, let me be clear about something. I didn't file that report because my feelings were hurt. I filed it because you committed a crime. Those are different things. And if you spend the next 7 days trying to make me quit instead of actually training, you're going to be disappointed twice. Once when I don't quit, and again when Commander Willis reviews your performance as an instructor. Blake's hands stopped moving. You threatening me, Lieutenant? I'm explaining reality, Chief. Same way you just explained cold water to me. For 3 seconds, neither of them moved. Then Blake picked up the gear manifest and shoved it at her chest. Sign this. Means you acknowledge all safety briefings and assume responsibility for your own survival. She took it, scanned the document, signed without hesitation. Good, Blake said. Boat launches in 10 minutes. Hope you ate light because the first 4 hours are going to be rough water. He wasn't exaggerating. By 800, Maya had thrown up twice over the side of the boat and lost all feeling in her hands from gripping the safety rail. The Pacific had swells running 8 feet, and Blake drove straight into them like he was trying to prove the boat was tougher than physics. You good back there, Lieutenant? He shouted over the engine noise. She couldn't answer without opening her mouth, and opening her mouth meant vomiting again. I'll take that as a yes. The boat crested another wave and slammed down hard enough to jar her spine. She tasted blood where she'd bitten her tongue. This wasn't training. This was punishment disguised as transportation. But she held on, didn't ask him to slow down, didn't reach for the radio to call it off, just locked her legs against the bench seat and rode it out. 3 hours later, when Blake finally throttled down near a small rocky island, Maya's arms were shaking so hard she could barely unclip her safety harness. "Welcome to San Miguel," Blake announced. "Our home for the next week." He cut the engine. "Nearest inhabited land is 11 miles northeast. Radio's for emergencies only, and I decide what counts as an emergency." "Questions?" Maya forced her jaw to unclench. "Where's the water source?" "There isn't one. We brought what we need." "Shelter?" "What we build." "Supply drops?" Blake smiled. "This isn't summer camp, Lieutenant. We eat what we packed, sleep where we can, and train until I say we're done." He jumped out of the boat into knee-deep water. "Now help me unload before the tide changes." They worked in silence. 20 minutes of hauling gear across slippery rocks while waves tried to knock them over. Maya's legs screamed from fighting the current, her hands cramped around the dry bag straps. But she matched Blake's pace, bag for bag, until everything sat in a pile above the high tide line. "Not bad," Blake said, breathing hard. "For a SEAL?" "That an insult or a compliment, Chief?" "Haven't decided yet." He started sorting equipment. "Set up the shelter. Standard 2-man configuration. I want it done in 20 minutes. 20 minutes is 19 minutes now. Clock's running." She didn't argue, just grabbed the tent bag and got to work. 18 minutes later, the shelter stood secure against the wind. Blake circled it twice, checking stakes and tension lines. He pulled on one corner hard enough that the whole structure flexed. "Again," he said. "Again?" "Tent failed structural test. Take it down, rebuild it. 15 minutes this time." Maya's hands were already bleeding from rope burns. "Chief, that tent is properly secured. Then it'll be easy to do it again." 14 minutes. She wanted to argue, wanted to point out that he was making her repeat work just to break her down. But arguing burned time she didn't have. She tore down the tent and rebuilt it in 13 minutes. Blake tested it again. This time he didn't find fault, but he didn't say anything either. Just moved on to the next task like her effort didn't matter. "Perimeter security," he said. 6 observation points. Mark them with these. He handed her a bag of chemical light sticks. "I want full coverage by sunset." "That's 40 minutes away, Chief." "Then you better move fast." The island was a quarter-mile of volcanic rock, scattered brush, and tide pools that tried to break her ankles every third step. Maya placed the markers while the sun dropped toward the horizon, painting everything orange and gold. Beautiful, if she'd had time to notice. She finished with 2 minutes to spare. Blake was cooking something over a small camp stove when she got back. Military rations rehydrated into something that smelled vaguely like food. "Eat," he said, handing her a pouch. "Then we run night navigation drills." "Chief, we've been moving for 14 hours straight. And in real operations you move for 72. Eat fast." She ate. The food tasted like cardboard and regret, but it was calories. Blake finished first, stood, grabbed his rifle. "Here's the scenario. Enemy patrol spotted half-click north. We need eyes on their position without being detected. You're on point." "We're running combat scenarios right now?" "You got somewhere else to be, Lieutenant?" He checked his watch. "Move out. I'll give you a 3-minute head start before I come hunting. If I spot you before you reach the observation point, we start over, from the beginning." Chief, that's 2 minutes 45 seconds now." Maya grabbed her rifle and ran. The rocks were worse in the dark. Every shadow hid an ankle breaker. Every sound could be Blake flanking her position. She moved low and slow, using the terrain for cover, controlling her breathing like they'd taught her in fieldcraft school. She made it 200 yards before Blake's voice crackled in her radio earpiece. "Contact right, you're exposed." She froze. "You're dead, Lieutenant. Enemy sniper just put 2 rounds in your back because you silhouetted yourself on that ridge. Head back to start. We're running it again." 4 more times. 4 more failures. Blake found her every time, through thermals, through better positioning, through pure experience advantage. On the fifth run, she changed tactics, went slower, sacrificed speed for stealth, took a route that added 10 minutes, but kept her in dead ground the whole way. She reached the observation point without hearing Blake's voice. Waited. 3 minutes. 5 minutes. 10. Then his voice, quiet in her ear. "Not bad, Lieutenant. You learned something." She didn't respond, just stayed in position, scanning the dark water for threats that didn't exist. "Extract to base camp," Blake said. "We'll debrief over coffee." Coffee was instant powder and lukewarm water. They drank it sitting on opposite sides of the camp stove while the ocean made sounds like breathing in the dark. "You want to know why I'm hard on you?" Blake said suddenly. Maya looked up, surprised. "Chief? You want to know why I spit on your gear? Why I'm making you run these drills until you can't stand?" He poured himself more coffee. "It's not because you're a woman." "Respectfully, Chief, I don't believe that." "Don't care what you believe. I care about what's true." He stared into his cup. 6 months ago, I had a kid in my training class. 23 years old, Harvard graduate, spoke 4 languages, scored perfect on every written test the Navy gave him. Command pushed him through screening because he looked good on paper. Maya stayed quiet. Week 3 of real operations. We're running interdiction off the coast of Yemen. Hostile vessel, armed crew, low light conditions. This kid freezes in the boat, just completely locks up. We had to extract him under fire while his teammates covered his panic attack. Blake's voice went flat. 2 operators got shot because we were too busy saving someone who shouldn't have been there in the first place. One of them still can't use his left arm right. "Chief, I'm not that kid. I know you're not. That's the problem." He looked at her directly. "You're good, Lieutenant. You've got skills. You earned that trident. But Command's watching this integration program like it's a political experiment, and if you fail, they'll blame the program. If you succeed, they'll push 10 more people through who haven't earned it, and those people will get my operators killed." "So you're trying to break me to prevent hypothetical bad operators from existing?" "I'm trying to make sure that if you do fail, it's because you actually couldn't hack it, not because you didn't get tested hard enough." He dumped the rest of his coffee. "Tomorrow, we run water insertions, full gear, night conditions, cold ocean. You're going to hate me even more than you do right now." "I don't hate you, Chief." "Then you're not paying attention." He stood, walked to his side of the shelter, and laid down without another word. Maya sat there in the dark, listening to waves and processing what he'd just told her. Part of it was excuse-making, part of it was ego, but part of it, maybe a small part, was an instructor trying to protect his people the only way he knew how. Didn't make him right, but it made him slightly more human. She finished her coffee and tried to sleep on volcanic rock that felt like sleeping on broken glass. Tomorrow would be worse. Blake had promised her that much, and for the first time since this started, she believed him. The next 3 days blurred into a continuous cycle of pain, cold water, and Blake's voice telling her she was too slow, too loud, too hesitant. They ran boat approaches until her shoulders burned from paddling. They practiced combat swimming in water so cold her wetsuit felt like paper. They drilled weapons transitions until her hands moved automatically even when her brain wanted to quit. And Blake never let up. Never gave her the easy option. Never said, "Good enough." On day 4, something changed. They were running a hostage extraction scenario, Blake playing the hostile, Maya executing the rescue. She'd failed it 6 times. Too aggressive, too cautious, wrong angle, bad timing. The 7th time, she didn't think, just moved. Saw the opening, took it, neutralized Blake with a joint lock that put him on his knees before he could react. "Clear," she called, securing the dummy hostage. Blake stood slowly, rubbing his shoulder. "Run it again." "Chief, Again, Lieutenant." She ran it again. Succeeded again. Blake watched her with something new in his eyes. Not respect, not yet, but acknowledgement. "Better," he said. "Again." By day 5, they were operating like a team. Not friends, not even friendly, but functional. Blake would start a sentence and Maya would finish the action. She'd identify a problem and Blake would already be solving it. That night, eating rehydrated beef stroganoff under stars that looked close enough to touch, Blake spoke without prompting. "You're going to make it, Lieutenant." Maya almost dropped her spoon. "What?" "The integration program. You're going to succeed." He didn't look at her. "And when you do, every woman who comes after you is going to have an easier time, because you proved it could be done right." "Chief, don't thank me. I'm still going to write in my report that this program is operationally questionable and politically motivated." He scraped his food pouch clean. "But I'm also going to write that you met every standard I threw at you, and that if command sends 10 more like you, we'll be fine. If they send people who aren't like you," he shrugged, "that's not your fault." "Is this an apology, Chief?" "This is an observation, Lieutenant." He stood, gathered his trash. "But for what it's worth, the spit thing was unprofessional. You were right to document it." It wasn't an apology, but from Blake Mercer, it was close. Maya didn't push, just nodded once and let it be. Day 6, they were scheduled to return. Final equipment check, final drill, and then the boat ride back to Coronado. But at 0400, Blake's radio crackled with a message that changed everything. "All units, this is Base Command. We have actual emergency traffic. SEAL Team 3 conducting real-world operation 15 clicks southwest of your position. They're in contact and requesting immediate SWCC support for extraction. Chief Mercer, acknowledge." Blake grabbed the radio. "This is Mercer, acknowledge. What's the situation?" 4 operators, 1 civilian contractor. Civilian took shrapnel, needs immediate casevac. Closest extraction asset is 30 minutes out. You're 12 minutes if you run full speed." Blake looked at Maya, really looked at her. "Lieutenant, this isn't training anymore. This is real. You understand what I'm asking?" She was already moving toward the boat. "I understand, Chief. Let's go get our people." They launched into darkness with waves running higher than they should and the engine screaming at maximum RPM. Maya rode the bow, scanning for obstacles, calling corrections while Blake drove like their lives depended on speed. Because someone else's life did. "Contact in 2 minutes," Blake shouted. Maya prepped the medical gear, checked the litter straps, made sure nothing would slow them down when it mattered. And then she saw them. 4 figures on a rocky outcrop, weapons up, 1 man being carried between 2 others. "I see them," she called. Blake brought the boat alongside rocks that could tear the hull open if he misjudged by 6 inches. He didn't misjudge. "Lieutenant, you're on deck. Get them loaded." Maya was over the side before the boat fully stopped moving. The wounded man was bleeding through his tactical vest, conscious but fading. "Got you, brother," she said, getting her shoulder under his weight. "You're going home." 2 other SEALs helped lift him into the boat. Professional. Efficient. One of them looked at her, saw her trident, nodded once. That nod meant everything. "Everyone loaded," Blake called. "All personnel aboard," Maya confirmed. The boat pulled away from the rocks doing 30 knots before the last man had fully sat down. Maya worked on the wounded contractor while Blake drove. Pressure on the wound. IV line placed. Vital signs called out every 30 seconds. "Stay with me," she told the contractor. His eyes kept trying to close. "Look at me. Focus." You've got a daughter, right? Tell me about her. He mumbled something about ballet class. That's right. You're going to make her next recital. But you have to stay awake right now. Keep talking. 11 minutes later, they pulled alongside the base medical dock where Corman waited with a gurney. Maya helped transfer the contractor, gave the medical brief while they wheeled him toward the ambulance. Nice work, Lieutenant. One of the SEALs from the extraction team extended his hand. You just saved our contractor's life. Chief Mercer did the driving, and you did the medicine. We saw you work. That was textbook. He glanced at her insignia. Chen, right? Heard you were doing the integration program. Glad you're on our side. He walked away before she could respond. Blake stood by the boat, watching her. When she approached, he spoke quietly. That's the difference, Lieutenant, between training hard and being ready. You were ready. We were ready, Chief. He nodded slowly. Yeah, we were. They secured the boat in silence, offloaded gear they'd packed a week ago on a different island where everything had been theoretical. Commander Willis met them at the equipment bay. Hell of a thing you two just did, he said. Contractor's going to make it, by the way, thanks to your response time. Just doing the job, sir, Blake said. Willis looked between them. The job is what happens when training becomes real and you don't fold. Both of you passed that test tonight. He handed Maya a folder. Your performance evaluation, Lieutenant. Chief Mercer submitted it an hour ago. She opened it, read the first line. Lieutenant Junior Grade Chen demonstrated exceptional technical proficiency, tactical judgment, and operational composure under all assessed conditions. Recommend advancement to primary instructor cadre. She looked up at Blake. He shrugged. Same standards, Lieutenant. You met them. Willis smiled. Get cleaned up, both of you. Debriefing tomorrow at 0900. He started to walk away, then turned back. And Chen, welcome to the team. The real one. She stood there holding the folder while Blake unpacked his gear, and the base woke up around them, and somewhere in the medical building a contractor told his daughter about the SEAL who wouldn't let him die. It wasn't vindication. It wasn't justice for getting spit on. It was something better. It was proof. But the team Blake had trained for 8 years didn't get the memo. Maya walked into the morning briefing 2 days later and felt the temperature drop 10 degrees. 40 Southwest CC operators filled the room, and exactly 3 of them made eye contact. The rest found sudden interest in their notepads, their phones, the ceiling tiles. Blake stood at the front, arms crossed. Everyone here? Good. Let's talk about the integration pilot. Travis Holt raised his hand without waiting to be called on. Chief, got a question about that. Make it quick, Petty Officer. The integration program. Is it still about equal standards, or are we changing metrics because someone got lucky on a rescue? The room went dead quiet. Blake's jaw tightened. Define lucky, Petty Officer Holt. I mean, we've all done Cassivac extractions. It's basic stuff. But now we're supposed to pretend it's exceptional because... He stopped himself, glanced at Maya. Because certain people need different measuring sticks. Maya kept her expression neutral, but her pulse kicked up. This wasn't random grumbling. This was coordinated. Blake stepped toward Holt. You think placing an IV line in a moving boat during heavy seas is basic? I think any competent operator could have done it, Chief. What I'm asking is whether we're still being evaluated on actual performance or on optics. Danny Cross spoke up from the back row. Yeah, Chief, because some of us have been running these boats for years without getting performance evaluations that recommend us for instructor positions. Blake's voice went dangerously quiet. You want instructor positions? Earn them. Same way Lieutenant Chen did. She earned it in 1 week, Holt shot back. Some of us have been earning it for 5 years. Then maybe you should ask yourself why 5 years of experience still doesn't match her 1 week of results. The insult landed like a physical blow. Holt's face flushed red. That's bullshit, Chief, and you know it. You're changing your standards because command's breathing down your neck about diversity numbers. Stand up, petty officer. Holt blinked. What? I said stand up. You've got something to say about standards. Say it to her face instead of hiding behind me. Holt stood slowly, looked at Maya for the first time since she'd entered the room. No disrespect, ma'am, but you've been here 2 weeks. You ran 1 successful op. The rest of us have been doing this job in real combat zones while you were… He caught himself again. While I was what? Maya asked quietly. While you were getting special treatment to make it through Bud/S. The accusation hung in the air like smoke. Maya stood, walked to the front of the room, stopped 3 feet from Holt. Petty officer, you just accused me of not earning my trident. That's calling every instructor who evaluated me a liar. Every teammate who operated beside me incompetent. And every man in SEAL Team 3 who thanked me for that Kazovac stupid. You sure that's the statement you want on record? Holt didn't back down. I'm sure that some of us are tired of watching standards change to accommodate political pressure. Then let's talk about standards. Maya turned to address the whole room. How many of you have completed Hell Week? A few hands went up, maybe 8 out of 40. How many completed it in January? Water temperature below 55 degrees? The hands dropped to 3. How many of you did it after being told by your instructors that women don't have the upper body strength to succeed, and then outperforming 80% of your male classmates anyway? Silence. That's what I thought. She looked back at Holt. You want to compare standards, petty officer? Let's compare. Your boat handling quals. When did you complete those? 3 years ago, ma'am. Score? 82%. I qualified last week. 96%. Want to try another metric? Holt's face went darker. Scores don't mean anything in real ops. You're right. They don't. So let's talk about real ops. That Kazovac you called basic? The contractor we pulled had a severed femoral artery. He'd lost 40% of his blood volume. The corpsman who received him said if we'd been 5 minutes slower, he'd have died on the dock. Maya stepped closer. I controlled that bleeding while doing 60 knots in 8-foot seas. Can you do that, petty officer? Or is that just special treatment making me competent? Holt opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. That's what I thought, Maya said. Now sit down. For a second, she thought he might actually comply. His knees started to bend. Then Danny Cross stood up. This is exactly the problem, Cross said. You walk in here, run 1 successful op, and suddenly we're all supposed to bow down like you invented maritime operations. He looked around the room, gathering support. Chief, half of us have done rescues that never made it into performance reports. We've pulled operators out of situations that would have killed most people. But we don't get recommendations for instructor positions because we're not part of some political experiment. Blake cut him off. Petty Officer Cross, you're about 5 seconds from finding out what insubordination feels like. Let him talk, Chief, Maya said. Blake looked at her. Lieutenant, if Petty Officer Cross has concerns about the program, he should voice them. That's what professional operators do. Cross smirked. Professional operators also don't record their supervisors like they're criminals. There it was, the real complaint, the thing that had been festering since that first morning on the dock. You're right, Maya said. Professional operators don't need to record their supervisors. They operate in environments where supervisors don't commit assault on classified equipment. But when that trust is broken, documentation becomes necessary. Would you like to debate that policy? Or would you like to admit this isn't about standards, it's about ego? It's about respect, Cross shot back. Something you clearly don't have for the people who've been doing this job since before you decided the Navy was a good career move. Respect is earned, petty officer. You want mine? Stop whining about integration and start performing at a level that makes me notice you for the right reasons. Cross took 2 steps toward her. Holt stood back up. The room shifted. 40 men watching, calculating, deciding whether this was about to cross a line that couldn't be uncrossed. Blake moved between them. Everyone sit down, now. Nobody sat. I said sit down! Holt's voice came out tight, controlled. Chief, we're just asking questions. You're not asking questions. You're questioning her qualifications because you're pissed that she documented misconduct and you're afraid you're next. Blake's voice carried to every corner of the room. Well, here's the truth. Every single one of you in this room has been tested. Every one of you has been pushed, and every one of you met the standards I set because I don't pass people who don't earn it. Lieutenant Chen met those same standards, better than most of you if we're being honest. So if you've got a problem with her being here, your problem is with me. That's not what this is about, Cross started. Then what's it about, petty officer? Explain it to me like I'm stupid. Cross hesitated, looked at Holt, back to Blake, and then he spit. Not at Maya, at the floor between them, a deliberate echo of what Blake had done 2 weeks ago. That's what it's about, Chief. Some of us are tired of being told to swallow things that don't taste right. The room erupted. Men stood, chairs scraped, voices overlapped in a cacophony of agreement and anger and confusion. Maya stood perfectly still, watching Cross, watching Holt, watching Blake's face turn the color of a fresh bruise. Blake's voice came out like gravel. Petty Officer Cross, you just committed assault in front of 40 witnesses. You're confined to barracks, pending formal charges. For spitting on the floor? Cross laughed. Come on, Chief. You did worse. I did worse and got a formal reprimand for it. Something I deserved. Something I acknowledged. You want to follow my example? Start with accountability instead of defiance. Or what? You're going to have your diversity hire press charges again? Maya finally spoke. Her voice cut through the noise like a blade through water. Master Chief Rodriguez, you listening on the security feed? A speaker crackled to life. Rodriguez's voice filled the room. I'm here, Lieutenant. I'm activating Emergency Protocol 77 Alpha, hostile training environment, requesting immediate command intervention and suspension of all joint operations pending investigation. The room went silent. Cross stared at her. You can't be serious. Protocol 77 Alpha authorizes any operator to suspend training when safety is compromised by hostile unit dynamics. The regulation exists because people die when teams don't trust each other. And right now, petty officer, I don't trust you to cover my 6 in a firefight. She looked around the room. I don't trust any of you who stayed silent while this happened. So until Commander Willis investigates and determines who's here to train and who's here to undermine, nobody operates. Not me, not you. Nobody. Holt found his voice. You just shut down an entire training cycle. You just created an environment where operational integrity is compromised. I'm documenting it. Same as I documented Chief Mercer. Same as I'll document anyone else who thinks abuse is acceptable if you do it in front of enough people who agree with you. Blake pulled out his radio. Commander Willis, this is Mercer. We have a situation in the briefing room. Recommend you get down here. Already on my way, Chief. Rodriguez filled me in. Nobody moves until I arrive. The next 10 minutes felt like waiting for a verdict. Operators stood in clusters, whispering. Cross paced near the back wall. Holt sat down heavily, head in his hands. Maya stayed at the front of the room, arms at her sides, breathing steady. Blake leaned close to her, voice low. You just made a lot of enemies, Lieutenant. I made them 2 weeks ago, Chief. I just stopped pretending I hadn't. This is going to get ugly. It was already ugly. Now it's official. Commander Willis walked in with Master Chief Rodriguez and 2 Master-at-Arms personnel carrying sidearms. The sight of armed security in a training briefing room made everyone's spine straighten. Willis didn't raise his voice. Didn't need to. Here's what's going to happen. Petty Officer Cross, you're confined to barracks under armed escort. Petty Officer Holt, same. The rest of you are dismissed to your quarters pending individual interviews. Anyone who has information about this incident or any related incidents will report to Master Chief Rodriguez by 1800 hours today. Anyone who doesn't report and is later found to have information will face obstruction charges. He paused. Let that sink in. This isn't a witch hunt. This is an investigation into whether this command has maintained professional standards or allowed toxic culture to compromise operational readiness. If you're clean, you've got nothing to worry about. If you're not clean, start getting your stories straight. Because I promise you, whatever you think you're hiding, we're going to find it. Cross spoke up. Sir, this is overkill for a training disagreement. Petty Officer, you spit in a training environment. That's assault. You did it in front of superior officers. That's insubordination. You did it to undermine a federally mandated integration program. That's potentially a civil rights violation. Willis looked at him with something close to pity. You didn't have a disagreement. You committed crimes. Plural. Now get out of my sight before I add to the list. The Master-at-Arms escorted Cross out. Holt followed without being told. The rest of the room emptied in under a minute. When only Willis, Rodriguez, Blake, and Maya remained, the commander sat down heavily. Lieutenant, walk me through what happened. Maya recounted everything, word for word. No emotion, just facts. When she finished, Willis nodded slowly. Chief Mercer, your assessment? Blake looked at Maya, then at Willis. Sir, Petty Officers Cross and Holt organized this. They've been running a whisper campaign since Lieutenant Chen arrived, trying to turn the platoon against the integration program. I thought I could manage it internally. I was wrong. You were more than wrong, Chief. You were negligent. Your job is to train operators, not tolerate insurgents. Willis stood. Master Chief Rodriguez, I want full communications records for Cross and Holt. Phones, emails, everything. I want to know who else is involved. Already pulling them, sir. Should have results by tonight. Willis turned to Maya. Lieutenant, you're reassigned to administrative duty pending the outcome of this investigation. That's not a punishment. It's protection. These men are angry, and angry people do stupid things. Sir, with respect, reassigning me looks like I'm the problem. Reassigning you keeps you alive, Lieutenant. I've seen how these situations play out. Someone decides to make a point. Someone else decides to make it permanent. I won't risk that. Sir, that's an order, Lieutenant Chen. Dismissed. She stood, saluted, walked out before her hands could start shaking. In the hallway outside, she finally let herself lean against the wall and breathe. Really breathe. Her chest hurt like she'd been running sprints. Her vision blurred at the edges. She'd just shut down an entire training program, made enemies of people she'd have to work with for years, put her career in the hands of an investigation that could go either way, and she'd done it because the alternative was letting them think silence meant surrender. Master Chief Rodriguez found her there 5 minutes later. Didn't say anything, just handed her a bottle of water and stood beside her. "You did the right thing," Rodriguez said finally. "Doesn't feel right." "Never does. Doing right feels like hell right up until the moment it doesn't." Rodriguez took the water back, took a sip, handed it back. "Willis is serious about the communications records. We're going to find out who else was involved." "How do you know?" "Because I've been watching these idiots for 2 weeks, and they're not smart enough to hide their tracks. Trust me, by tomorrow, we'll have a list of everyone who contributed to this mess." "And then what?" "And then they face consequences. Real ones." Rodriguez pushed off the wall. "Come on, I'll walk you to your new office. It's got a door that locks and a coffee maker that actually works." "Small victories, Lieutenant." Maya followed her through corridors that suddenly felt foreign, past operators who looked away when she approached, into an office that smelled like old paper and possibilities. "Get some rest," Rodriguez said. "Tomorrow's going to be worse before it gets better." She left Maya alone with a locked door and the echo of 40 men deciding whether she was the enemy. Maya sat at the desk, pulled out her phone, and did something she hadn't done since arriving at Coronado. She called her sister. "Maya, it's the middle of the day. You okay?" "No," Maya said, "but I'm still here." And sometimes, on days when everything burns down around you, still being here is enough. Her sister's voice came through the phone like a lifeline. "What happened?" Maya closed her eyes, felt the weight of the locked door behind her, the silence of an office that shouldn't be hers. "I just ended careers today, Lynn. Maybe my own. Start from the beginning." So she did. Told her sister everything. The spit, the island, the rescue, the briefing room explosion. When she finished, Lynn was quiet for so long Maya thought the call had dropped. "You still there?" "I'm here. Just trying to figure out how you're still standing." Lynn exhaled slowly. "Maya, you know what Mom would say right now? That I should have kept my head down? That you should have remembered why you joined in the first place." Lynn's voice softened. "You didn't become a SEAL to make friends. You did it because someone had to prove it could be done. Well, you're proving it, and it's ugly, and it's hard, and it's exactly what everyone who came before you needed someone to do." Maya felt something crack in her chest. Not breaking, opening. "I'm scared, Lynn." "Good. Means you understand what's at stake." Papers rustled on Lynn's end. "Now get some sleep. Tomorrow you're going to walk into whatever comes next, and you're going to do what you always do. Survive it. Call me when it's over." The line went dead. Maya sat in the dark office for another hour before she finally went back to her barracks and pretended to sleep. The investigation moved faster than anyone expected. By the next morning, Master Chief Rodriguez had pulled communications records from 12 different devices. By noon, she'd identified a group text chain called Old Guard with 17 participants. By 1400 hours, she'd printed every message and delivered them to Commander Willis in a folder marked Evidence. Maya wasn't allowed to see them, but she heard about them. The junior enlisted who brought her lunch, a kid named Ramirez who'd barely spoken to her before, set the tray down and said quietly, "Ma'am, you should know. The stuff they said about you in those texts, it's bad. Like, really bad." "How bad?" Ramirez looked at the door, then back at her. "They had a betting pool on when you'd quit. They planned accidents during training to make you fail. And Cross said things I can't repeat to a superior officer." Maya set down her coffee. "Did you participate, Ramirez?" "No, ma'am. I got added to the group, but I never responded. just watched. He shifted his weight. I should have reported it, I know that now, but I was scared if I said something I'd be next. You're reporting it now? Yes, ma'am. Master Chief Rodriguez made it real clear. We either come clean or we go down with them. I'm choosing clean. He left before Maya could respond. 2 hours later, Rodriguez knocked on her door. Lieutenant, Willis wants you in the conference room. Formal hearing starts in 20 minutes. Already? He's moving fast before anyone can lawyer up or coordinate stories. JAG's already here. So is a representative from Naval Special Warfare Command. This is real, Chen. You ready? Maya stood, straightened her uniform. As ready as I'll ever be. The conference room felt like a courtroom. Long table at the front where Commander Willis sat with a JAG attorney and a 2-star admiral Maya didn't recognize. Chairs arranged in rows facing them. Court reporter in the corner with a stenography machine. Master-at-arms at the door. Cross and Holt sat on the left side, both in dress uniforms, both looking like they'd rather be anywhere else. On the right side, Blake Mercer sat alone, expression unreadable. Maya took a seat in the middle, neutral territory. Willis called the room to order. This is a formal UCMJ Article 32 hearing to investigate allegations of assault, insubordination, and conspiracy to undermine a federally mandated training program. For the record, I am Commander James Willis, commanding officer of this facility. To my left is Captain Andrea Voss from JAG. To my right is Rear Admiral Kenneth Marsh from Naval Special Warfare Command. He looked at the court reporter. Everything said here is on record and under oath. Anyone who lies will face perjury charges. Everyone understand? Heads nodded around the room. Good. We'll start with the evidence. Master Chief Rodriguez, present your findings. Rodriguez stood, pulled out the folder. Sir, we recovered text messages from a group conversation involving 17 SWCC personnel. The messages span from Lieutenant Chen's arrival date through yesterday. They contain explicit discussions of sabotaging her training, organizing collective resistance to the integration program, and planning confrontations designed to force her removal. She began reading excerpts. Her voice stayed professional, but each message landed like a physical blow. From Petty Officer Cross, dated 2 weeks ago. New diversity hire shows up tomorrow, taking bets on how long before she cries to command about hurt feelings. From Petty Officer Holt, same date. Give her a week. These types always fold when real training starts. From an unnamed participant. Chief should spit on her boots first day, set the tone. Maya's stomach turned. That message predated Blake's actions by 12 hours. Rodriguez continued. From Cross again, 1 week ago. She's tougher than expected. Need to step it up. Suggestions? From Holt. Mess with her gear during the island drill. Make it look like equipment failure. If she complains, she looks paranoid. If she doesn't, she fails. From another participant. What if she doesn't fail? From Cross. Then we make the briefing room so hostile she quits anyway. Mercer won't back her if we all stand together. Blake's face had gone pale. Rodriguez looked up from the folder. Sir, there are 47 messages in this thread. 33 of them explicitly discuss undermining Lieutenant Chen. 14 discuss ways to circumvent command oversight. And 6 reference previous female personnel who were, quote, encouraged to find other career paths. The Admiral leaned forward. Master Chief, are you telling me this facility has a documented history of forcing out female service members? The messages suggest that, yes, sir. We're still investigating the previous cases. Willis's jaw clenched so hard Maya could hear his teeth grind. Who else was in this group chat besides Cross and Holt? Rodriguez read 15 names. About half the room shifted uncomfortably. Those personnel are being interviewed separately. For today's hearing, we're focusing on the primary instigators. She sat down. Captain Voss from JAG stood next. Commander Willis, I'd like to call our first witness, Seaman Apprentice Miguel Ramirez. Ramirez walked in looking like he might throw up. He sat in the witness chair, took the oath, gripped the armrests. Voss's voice was gentle. Seaman Ramirez, you were part of the group chat Master Chief Rodriguez referenced. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you participate in the planning of any actions against Lieutenant Chen?
No, ma'am. I was added to the group, but I never sent messages. Just read what others wrote.
Why didn't you report it? Ramirez's voice cracked.
Because I was scared, ma'am. Petty Officer Cross told me if I said anything, I'd be blacklisted, that no SWCC crew would ever trust me again. I'm 19 years old. This is my first duty station. I didn't know what to do.
What changed your mind?
Lieutenant Chen, ma'am.
He looked at Maya.
During that Kazovac rescue, I was on the dock when you brought the contractor in. You were professional, focused. You saved that guy's life. And I realized all those messages about you being weak or incompetent were just lies. You were better than most of the people talking trash about you. It made me sick that I stayed quiet.
Voss nodded. Thank you, Seaman. You're dismissed. 3 more junior enlisted testified. All said the same thing. They'd been afraid to speak up, afraid of retaliation, afraid of being labeled traitors to the old guard. Then Voss called a name that made the room go silent. Chief Warrant Officer Blake Mercer. Blake stood, walked to the witness chair, took the oath, sat down with his hands folded. Chief Mercer, Voss began. You were Lieutenant Chen's primary instructor during the island training evolution. Prior to that, you were present when the initial incident occurred, when you spit on her classified device. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you aware of the group chat planning actions against her? Blake's pause lasted 3 seconds too long. I was aware some personnel had concerns about the integration program. That's not what I asked. Were you aware of the specific group chat where personnel planned to sabotage her training? Another pause. I saw some messages. I didn't participate. But you didn't report them either.
No, ma'am.
Why not? Blake looked at Willis, then at Maya, then back at Voss.
Because I agreed with their concerns, not their methods, but their concerns.
Explain that distinction.
I thought the integration program was being rushed for political reasons. I thought Lieutenant Chen hadn't been properly vetted for SWCC operations. I thought she'd fail on her own, and the problem would solve itself.
He took a breath.
I was wrong about all of that.
When did you realize you were wrong?
During the island training. Lieutenant Chen performed at a level that exceeded most operators I've trained in 8 years. During the Kazovac rescue, she demonstrated composure and skill under pressure that saved a life. She earned my respect. I should have given it to her from the start, instead of making her prove what should have been assumed, that she'd already earned her place here by earning that trident.
Voss paced in front of him. And yet you didn't stop the conspiracy against her, even after you realized she was competent.
I didn't know it had gone that far. I thought it was just talk.
Talk that you enabled by committing assault yourself on her first day. Voss stopped pacing. Chief, you set the tone. You showed everyone that disrespecting Lieutenant Chen was acceptable. The group chat didn't create the hostility. You did. They just organized it. Blake's face crumpled. Not crying, just the visible collapse of a man confronting his own failure.
You're right, ma'am. I did. And I'll carry that. You'll carry more than that, Chief. But thank you for your honesty. Voss turned to Willis. Sir, I'd like to call Lieutenant Chen to the stand. Maya's heart kicked. She stood, walked forward, took the oath. Her hand didn't shake. Voss faced her. Lieutenant, in your own words, describe what you experienced from the moment you arrived at this facility. Maya told the truth. All of it. The spit, the sabotaged training, the isolation,
The betting pool she hadn't known about until today. The constant testing that went beyond training into hazing. The messages that said she didn't belong. The moment in the briefing room when she realized silence would get her killed. When she finished, Voss asked one more question. Lieutenant Chen, knowing what you know now, that this conspiracy involved 17 people, that it started before you even arrived, that it's happened to other women before you, would you still have reported the initial incident?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
Because the alternative is teaching the next woman who comes here that abuse is the price of admission. And that's a lesson I refuse to teach.
The room was dead silent. Voss turned to Willis. Sir, the evidence is clear. Multiple violations of UCMJ articles, conspiracy to undermine lawful orders, assault, creating a hostile work environment, and conduct unbecoming. I recommend full prosecution of all primary participants and administrative action against those who knew and stayed silent. Admiral Marsh spoke for the first time. His voice was quiet, but carried weight. Commander Willis, I've been in special operations for 32 years. I've seen good programs destroyed by bad culture. I've seen competent operators driven out by incompetent leaders. And I've seen brave people stand alone against institutional rot because no one else would. He looked at Maya. Lieutenant Chen, you did everything right. You documented misconduct. You reported through proper channels. You continued to perform your duties at an exceptional level despite sustained harassment. You activated emergency protocols when safety was compromised. And you're sitting here today because you refused to let bad behavior become normal behavior. He turned to Cross and Holt. You two, on the other hand, represent everything that's wrong with toxic leadership. You organized a conspiracy. You created a hostile environment. You committed assault. You attempted to force out a qualified operator because she threatened your comfortable world where mediocrity goes unchallenged. His voice hardened. I'm recommending both of you for dishonorable discharge. You're done in the Navy. And if I have anything to say about it, you'll be lucky to avoid federal charges for violating a service member's civil rights. Cross lurched to his feet. Sir, that's not fair. Sit down, petty officer. You lost the right to complain about fairness when you organized a betting pool on when a fellow service member would quit. Cross sat. Holt's voice came out barely above a whisper. Sir, we were just protecting our teams. You were protecting your egos. Marsh cut him off. If you'd spent half the energy you put into undermining Lieutenant Chen into actually training with her, you might have learned something. Instead, you're going to learn what happens when you confuse tradition with permission to commit crimes. He stood. Commander Willis, I'm ordering a full review of this facility's training protocols and culture. Master Chief Rodriguez will lead it. Any personnel found to have participated in harassment of any service member will face appropriate discipline. The integration program will continue, and it will succeed, because we're going to remove everyone who thinks sabotage is an acceptable response to change. Willis stood as well. Understood, sir. I'll have the implementation plan on your desk by Friday. See that you do. Marsh looked at Maya one more time. Lieutenant, you have my full support. And you have my apology that you had to fight this battle in the first place.
You shouldn't have to earn respect you've already demonstrated. That's on us. We'll fix it." He left without waiting for a response. The room exhaled collectively. Willis looked at Cross and Holt.
"You're both confined to barracks until your discharge paperwork processes. Master-at-Arms will escort you. Dismissed." They left without making eye contact with anyone. Willis turned to the court reporter. "Make sure this transcript is filed with JAG, Naval Personnel Command, and the Inspector General's office. I want everyone to know what happened here."
"Yes, sir." The room cleared slowly. Maya sat in the witness chair, suddenly exhausted. Blake approached her, stopped a respectful distance away. "Lieutenant?" She looked up. "Chief?" "I meant what I said up there. I was wrong. About you, about the program, about everything." He rubbed the back of his neck. "I'm probably getting demoted, maybe forced into retirement. I deserve both. But before that happens, I wanted you to know you're the best operator I've trained in years. And I'm sorry I made you prove that instead of just letting you show it." Maya stood, extended her hand. Blake stared at it,
Then shook it once, firm and final.
"Good luck, Chief."
"You too, Lieutenant. You're going to need it. Changing culture is harder than fighting enemies." He walked out, shoulders straight, carrying the weight of his own reckoning. Master Chief Rodriguez appeared beside Maya.
"You okay?" "Ask me tomorrow."
"Fair enough. Come on, Willis wants to see you before you leave." In Willis's office, the commander looked 10 years older than he had that morning. "Lieutenant Chen, sit." She sat. "I owe you an apology. I knew this facility had culture problems. I thought I could manage them quietly, keep the peace, avoid confrontation." He pulled out a folder. "I was wrong, and my inaction allowed good people to get hurt, including you. Sir, let me finish. I'm recommending you for a Navy Commendation Medal for your conduct during this entire situation. I'm also recommending you for a permanent instructor position here, if you want it. And I'm personally requesting that you help Master Chief Rodriguez rebuild this program into something that actually lives up to its stated values."
Maya blinked. "Sir, half this facility hates me."
Half this facility is getting reassigned. The other half is going to learn that excellence isn't determined by gender, it's determined by performance. And you, Lieutenant, have performed at a level that makes that argument for me." He handed her the folder. "Your formal evaluation. Read it when you're ready." She opened it. The first line read, "Lieutenant Junior Grade Maya Chen represents the highest standards of naval special warfare and serves as proof that integration, when executed with proper support, produces exceptional operators who elevate entire teams." Her vision blurred. "Dismissed, Lieutenant. Get some rest. Tomorrow, we start rebuilding." She walked out of his office into a base that felt different now. Not friendlier, not easier. Just different. In her barracks, she finally opened her phone and called her sister back. "It's over," Maya said. "Did you win?" "I survived. That's close enough." Lynn laughed. "That's my sister. What happens now?" "Now I teach others how to survive it too." And outside her window, the Pacific Ocean kept moving, indifferent to human drama, constant in its rhythm, reminding her that some battles end, but the work continues. Tomorrow she'd start that work. Tonight, she'd let herself breathe. But breathing lasted exactly one night. At 05:30 the next morning, Maya's door opened without a knock. Master Chief Rodriguez stood there holding 2 cups of coffee
and wearing the expression of someone about to deliver news that wouldn't improve with sugarcoating. "Get dressed, Lieutenant. We've got a situation." Maya pulled on her uniform. "What kind of situation?" "The kind where 12 operators just submitted transfer requests, simultaneously, at 0500 this morning."
Let me guess. The 12 who weren't implicated in the group chat but stayed silent. Exactly those 12. Rodriguez handed her one of the coffee cups. "They're claiming hostile work environment, saying they can't operate effectively under command that, quote, prioritizes political correctness over unit cohesion." Maya took the coffee but didn't drink it. "They're trying to paint me as the problem. They're trying to paint accountability as the problem, which tells me we didn't cut deep enough." Rodriguez started walking. Maya followed. "Willis is meeting with them in 20 minutes. He wants you there." "Why? So they can blame me to my face instead of behind my back?" "No. So you can watch him tell them their transfers are denied, and they can either adapt to the new standards or face the same consequences as Cross and Holt." The conference room felt different in morning light. Colder. The 12 operators sat on one side of the table. Willis stood at the head, arms crossed. Admiral Marsh had returned. Apparently, this situation warranted flag officer attention at dawn. Maya took a seat near the back, made herself small, watched. Willis didn't waste time on pleasantries. "Gentlemen, I've reviewed your transfer requests. All 12 are denied." A petty officer first class named Morrison spoke up. "Sir, with respect, this command has become toxic." "You're right," Willis cut him off. "It was toxic. Past tense. We're in the process of fixing that. Your transfers are denied because running away from problems you helped create isn't leadership. It's cowardice." Morrison's face flushed red. "Sir, we didn't create anything. We just worked here." "You worked here while 17 of your teammates organized a conspiracy to force out a qualified operator. You saw the messages. You heard the conversations. You said nothing. That's not innocent bystander behavior. That's complicity." Willis leaned forward. "So here's your choice. You can stay and be part of building a professional command where every operator is judged on performance, not gender. Or you can face Article 92 charges for failure to report misconduct and spend the next year fighting a court-martial. Your call." The room went silent. Admiral Marsh stood. "Let me add some context, gentlemen. Naval special warfare is changing, whether you like it or not. We're integrating women into every community because they bring capabilities we need, and they've earned the opportunity. You can be part of that change, or you can be examples of what happens when people resist it. Choose wisely." One by one, the operators nodded. Some looked relieved, some looked angry. All looked resigned. "Good," Willis said. "You're all reassigned to Master Chief Rodriguez's Cultural Transformation Working Group. You'll spend the next month developing new training protocols, harassment prevention programs, and integration best practices, and Lieutenant Chen will oversee your work." Every head in the room snapped toward Maya. Morrison found his voice. "Sir, you're putting her in charge of us?" "I'm putting a proven leader in charge of people who need to learn what leadership looks like. Lieutenant Chen demonstrated more integrity in 2 weeks than some of you have shown in entire careers. You're going to learn from her." Dismissed. They filed out without making eye contact with Maya. When the room cleared, Willis turned to her. "You're going to hate me for this, Lieutenant." "I already do, sir." He smiled grimly. "Good. Means you understand what I'm asking. Those 12 men need to see you as a leader, not an enemy. That means you're going to have to teach them, mentor them, and probably save a few of their careers when they screw up. Think you can do that?"
Maya thought about every instructor who'd screamed at her during BUD/S, every teammate who'd doubted her, every person she'd had to prove wrong just to earn basic respect. I can do it, sir. Question is whether they'll let me. They don't have a choice, but you do. Willis pulled out a folder. This is your official assignment as Deputy Director of Integration Programs. It's a step up in responsibility and authority. It also makes you a target for anyone who still thinks the old way was better. You want it? She took the folder, opened it, read her new job description. Responsible for developing, implementing, and assessing integration protocols across all Naval Special Warfare Training Commands. Authority to recommend policy changes, personnel actions, and program modifications. Reports directly to the commanding officer. This is a staff job, sir. I'm an operator. This is an operator job, disguised as staff work. You'll still train, still deploy, still lead, but you'll also build the framework that ensures the next woman who shows up here doesn't have to fight the same battles you did. Maya closed the folder. When do I start? You already did. First meeting with your new team is in 1 hour. Rodriguez will brief you on the way. He extended his hand. Welcome to the hardest job on this base, Lieutenant. She shook it. Seems to be my specialty, sir. The hardest part wasn't dealing with the hostile operators. It was dealing with the ones who wanted to help but didn't know how. Seaman Ramirez appeared at her new office door 3 days later, holding a notebook and looking nervous. Lieutenant Chen, got a minute? Come in, Ramirez. He sat on the edge of the chair like he might need to run. Ma'am, I want to help with the integration program. I know I screwed up by staying silent before, but I want to do better. I just don't know how. Maya set down her coffee. You're already doing it. You're asking. That's more than most people manage. But what if I say the wrong thing? What if I make it worse? Then you apologize and learn from it. That's how everyone gets better at this, Ramirez. It's not about being perfect. It's about being willing to try. He nodded, still nervous. Can I ask you something? And you'll tell me if it's offensive. Go ahead. Why'd you join? Like, you had to know it would be this hard. Why put yourself through it? Maya leaned back in her chair. Because someone had to be first, and if I didn't do it, some other woman would have had to. At least I was stubborn enough to survive it. You think it'll get easier? For the women who come after you? Not easier. Different. They'll face different challenges, but they won't have to wonder if it's possible, because I'll have already proved it is. She looked at him directly. That's what legacy means, Ramirez. Not making things easy. Making things possible. He wrote that down in his notebook. 6 weeks after the hearing, the first new female SEAL candidate arrived for SWCC integration training. Her name was Lieutenant Junior Grade Sarah Vance, 26, former college athlete, top of her BUD/S class. She reported to Maya's office before checking into her barracks. Ma'am, I wanted to introduce myself. Maya stood, shook her hand. Welcome to Coronado, Lieutenant. You ready for this? Honestly, I'm terrified. Vance's smile was tight. I heard what you went through. The investigation, the conspiracy, all of it. Part of me wants to turn around and request a different assignment. Why don't you? Because you didn't. And if you could survive it, maybe I can too. Maya walked around her desk, leaned against it. You're not me, Lieutenant. You don't have to survive the same way I did. What do you mean? I mean, the environment is different now. We've purged the worst actors. We've implemented harassment reporting protocols. We've trained the instructors on integration standards. You're walking into a command that's been forcibly dragged into professionalism. Maya crossed her arms. But that doesn't mean it'll be easy. Some people still resent the changes. Some will test you. And you'll have moments where you wonder if it's worth it. How do you handle those moments? I remember why I'm here, and I remember who's watching. Maya gestured toward the window overlooking the training grounds. Every woman who joins after us is watching to see if we survive. Every man who doubted us is watching to see if we fail. And every young girl who thinks maybe she could do this someday is watching to see if it's possible. Vance followed her gaze. That's a lot of pressure. It is. But pressure makes diamonds. Maya turned back to her. You're going to be fine, Lieutenant. And when you're not fine, my door is open. Deal? Deal, ma'am. 3 months later, Maya stood in front of a room full of SWCC operators, 22 men, 3 women, delivering the opening brief for a new training cycle. Welcome to Integrated SWCC Operations. Over the next 12 weeks, you're going to learn maritime combat tactics, close quarters battle from moving platforms, and how to operate as a cohesive team regardless of who's sitting next to you in the boat. She paused. Some of you are wondering if standards have changed. They haven't. Some of you are wondering if you'll get special treatment based on gender. You won't. What has changed is that we no longer tolerate harassment disguised as training. We no longer accept that toxic behavior is the price of admission. And we no longer assume someone can't do the job based on anything other than their demonstrated performance. A hand went up. One of the male operators, young, cautious. Yes? Ma'am, how do we... what if we accidentally say something offensive? Are we all going to get investigated? Good question. Here's the answer. Mistakes happen. If you say something that offends someone and you apologize and don't repeat it, you're fine. What gets you investigated is patterns of behavior, organized harassment, deliberate attempts to undermine teammates. Those aren't mistakes. Those are choices. Don't make those choices and you'll be fine. Lieutenant Vance spoke up from the second row. Ma'am, what's the biggest challenge we should prepare for? Maya smiled. Each other. This program only works if you trust the person next to you. Build that trust. Everything else follows. After the brief, Chief Petty Officer Morrison, one of the 12 who'd requested transfers, approached her. Lieutenant, got a minute? Walk with me, Chief. They headed toward the boat docks. Morrison was quiet for a few steps, then spoke. I owe you an apology. A real one, not a forced one. Go on. When you first got here, I thought you were going to ruin what we'd built. I thought integration was code for lowering standards. I was wrong. He stopped walking. I watched you train the last 3 cycles. You're harder on people than Blake ever was. You demand more, expect more, and the operators coming out of your program are better because of it. Thank you, Chief. I'm not done. He looked at her directly. I also watched you give second chances to people who didn't deserve them, including me. You could have had me court-martialed for failing to report that conspiracy. Instead, you put me to work fixing the problem I helped create. That's leadership I didn't know I needed to see. Maya felt something shift in her chest. Chief, I didn't give you a second chance because I'm nice. I gave it to you because good operators who make bad choices can still become good leaders if someone shows them the way. You're proving me right. Don't stop now. Morrison nodded once, sharp and final. Yes, ma'am. He walked away, back straight, carrying himself differently than he had 3 months ago. Master Chief Rodriguez appeared beside Maya like she'd materialized from the ocean air. You're getting good at this, Lieutenant. At what? Turning enemies into allies. It's a rare skill. Rodriguez handed her a tablet. You should see this. It's the latest performance metrics from the integration program. Maya scanned the data. Graduation rates up 15%. Injury rates down 20%. Harassment complaints down to 0 for 3 consecutive months. Team cohesion scores higher than they'd been in 5 years. These numbers are incredible. These numbers are what happens when you stop wasting energy on discrimination and start focusing on actual training. Rodriguez took the tablet back. Admiral Marsh wants to replicate this program across all special warfare commands. He's asking if you'll lead the expansion.
Maya's breath caught.
That's a 2-year assignment. Desk job, no deployments. It's a 2-year opportunity to change the entire community. Your call, Lieutenant. Can I think about it? You've got a week. Then Marsh needs an answer. Maya spent that week watching her program work. Watched male and female operators train together without incident. Watched instructors teach the same way to everyone. Watched barriers that had seemed permanent dissolve under the weight of simple professionalism. On the 7th day, she called Admiral Marsh. Sir, I'll take the assignment. On one condition. Name it, Lieutenant. I still get to train. Still get to deploy when needed. I won't be effective at changing culture if I'm disconnected from operations. Agreed. You'll rotate between staff work and operational billets. Keep you sharp. He paused. Chen, you know what you're signing up for, right? 2 years of fighting the same battles on a bigger scale. More resistance. More people who think you're destroying tradition. Sir, I spent 2 weeks getting spit on and sabotaged just to prove I could do a job I'd already earned the right to do. 2 years of bureaucratic resistance sounds like a vacation. Marsh laughed. You're going to do just fine, Lieutenant. Report to Washington next month. We'll get you started. Maya stood on the Coronado boat dock one last time before her transfer. The same dock where Blake had spit on her tablet 6 months ago. The same dock where she'd launched into darkness to save a wounded contractor. The same dock where everything had changed. Lieutenant Vance jogged up, slightly out of breath. Ma'am, they said you were leaving today. Wanted to say goodbye. Not goodbye, Lieutenant. See you later. I'll be back to check on the program. I know, but I wanted to say thank you for making it possible for people like me. Vance's voice wavered. I had 3 women reach out to me last week, all current BUD/S candidates,
All asking if SWCC integration was real or just for show.
I got to tell them it's real. Because of you. Maya felt her throat tighten. It's real because we made it real. All of us. Don't forget that. I won't, ma'am. They shook hands. Vance walked back toward the training facility. Maya watched her go, watched her join a group of operators, mixed gender, mixed rank, all heading to the same drill together like it was the most natural thing in the world. Blake Mercer's voice came from behind her. You did it, Lieutenant. She turned. Blake stood 10 feet back, no longer wearing the chief insignia. He'd been reduced in rank to E6, reassigned to logistics. But he'd stayed. Stayed to watch what he'd helped break get rebuilt into something better. We did it, Blake. You helped. I helped create the problem. You fixed it. He stepped closer. For what it's worth, I tell everyone who'll listen that you're the best operator I ever trained. And I'm sorry it took me so long to see it. You see it now. That's what matters. He nodded once, started to leave, stopped. Chen, when you're in Washington changing policy for the whole community, remember something. What's that? Standards don't care about politics. They don't care about gender. They only care about performance. You proved that. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise, even when the pressure's coming from people who think they're helping. I won't. He walked away. Maya stood alone on the dock, listening to waves and wind and the distant sound of instructors calling cadence. Her phone buzzed. Text from her sister Lynn, Mom saw the news article about your promotion. She cried. Said she's proud but also terrified for you. I told her that's what it means to love someone who refuses to quit. Call her when you can. Maya typed back. Tell her I'm fine. Tell her it was worth it. A second text came through from an unknown number. Lieutenant Chen, this is Seaman Recruit Jessica Okonkwo.
I just graduated BUD/S. Heard you're the person to talk to about SWCC integration. Can we meet? Maya smiled, typed, Absolutely. Welcome to the team. She pocketed her phone, picked up her duffel bag, and walked off the dock toward whatever came next. Behind her, the training facility hummed with the sound of operators becoming better versions of themselves. Ahead of her, Washington waited, with battles that would be fought in conference rooms instead of on islands. But the mission was the same. Prove it's possible. Make it sustainable. Leave it better than you found it. And when someone spits in your face, literally or figuratively, document it, report it, and then demonstrate that discipline beats rage every single time. Because that's what professionals do. That's what leaders do. That's what Maya Chen did. And years from now, when young women asked how integration happened, how barriers fell, how the impossible became routine, people would tell them about the SEAL who got spit on and responded by building a program that changed an entire institution. They'd tell them about the woman who proved that same standards mean same consequences, same opportunities, and same respect. They'd tell them about Lieutenant Junior Grade Maya Chen, who looked toxic culture in the eye and said, "Not on my watch." And those young women would understand that change doesn't happen because someone asks nicely. It happens because someone refuses to accept anything less than what they've already earned.